Welcome everyone to week 5. We're halfway through of the semester already. So for this particular topic, we'll learn on how each of you can study law using these 7 key secret ingredients for all of you to excel in your studies. As of today, 2021, there are 20,000 lawyers already in Malaysia. And this exclude the number of law graduates that will be graduating from the UK universities, who will be sitting for the bar exam and return to Malaysia to practice, as well as those who are graduating from tailors, as well as other private and local public university in Malaysia. So we're predicting by the time 2025, when all of you have graduated, completed your bar exam, the numbers would increase again to perhaps 25,000 lawyers. So how do you strive to be outstanding lawyer, and how do you compete in this legal profession community itself? Because the profession is very small. People tend to know each other, especially if you're really good, people would definitely know you. So then I would like to ask this question. If you're able to identify who are your competitors? Apart from the legal profession, if you can see here, legal, there are also other jobs that are available. The reason why I'm highlighting this, because I know some students, they're not sure what to do now. They know that they're studying law, but they don't know what they want going to do in 3 years or 5 years time. So that's why I'm projecting this, because by studying law, you will acquire skills which will be relevant to this area of practice as well. You have e-commerce. There's such thing as e-commerce law. How do you deal with international business transaction? So there are a lot of opportunities available for law graduates. So you don't have to feel that you have to work in a law firm, but you can always tap in other industries as well. So let's move on with 7 key ingredients to study. All right, so set number 1. This is very important. All of the high-ranking individual, prominent individual, members of the parliament, presidents, they always have a vision. To have a vision is actually the key to ensure that you are guided into achieving that particular outcome. Even if you work in any organization, every year, there will be a KPI during your appraisal. KPI stands for Key Performance Index. This is to ensure that you have already done what are the things that are required to do, like complete 5 cases. You have to complete 5 cases. But then there's also a section where your boss will ask you, so what do you want to be in the next year or in the next 3 years? So you need to have a vision so that whatever you do, you work towards that vision. So you won't be easily influenced by other external sources. So I give you an example. I have a friend who's 35 years old, who's an architect, but he's not sure if he wants to practice. So he works as a lecturer, but he's not sure that if it's part of his passion. So then he moved into another industry. So he keeps jumping around. So at 35, his life is still considered as unstable because he doesn't know what he wants. So that's when I asked, do you have a vision? He said, I have no clue what I want to do. It's because right now, as a law student who's studying in a virtual platform, this is where you grab as many opportunities as possible to join as many webinars that's relating to your area of interest or that's relating to your webinar, relating to your vision. So whatever webinar that you have attended, that's where you park it in your resume. Because when it comes to interview session itself, the interviewer will see how active you are. From there, we can already assess your area of interest. Because one of the students, actually few students said they want to work in a law firm. But in a law firm, there are various departments. There are litigation, where you want to sue each other, bring matters to court. This is litigation. There's also a corporate department, which deals with matters before the dispute. So it involves drafting a contract. There are various types of contract, construction or joint venture or merger or any types of contracts where it's between in a negotiation with other parties. This is where corporate departments is involved. Then you have a criminal department, which deals with criminal matters. You have taxation department, deals with only advice taxation matters. You have IP, intellectual property department. You have shares. You have so many departments, and I'll recommend students to go to top 500. If you Google top 500, so they'll list out all the lawyers' name in all around the world, all the law firms in around the world. So that's where you can click the respective country that you want to practice. Then you see the preferred law firms. Most of the students will be targeting the top 10. Of course, you want the prestigious law firm. In that law firm, you need to know what types of departments are available, whether it suits your interests or personality. Some student likes to do advocacy work. You like to talk. You like to go to court. So that's where you can join litigation department. But some students do not want to do advocacy altogether, do not like mooting. That's where you can venture into corporate. Some students, they like copyright matters. They like to do all these things on innovation. They want to specialize in a niche area to make sure that they are much more valuable than other lawyers. So they can join that particular organization. So that's why I would like to advise all students to have a specific goal so that you can tailor your future starting right now already. So if you've heard about Stephen Covey, in his book, under point number 2, it says that you must begin the end in mind. The end means you need to have a goal already in your mind so that you start working from today in order to achieve that particular outcome. So that's why, like myself, every year, all lecturers will have an appraisal. We need to tell the head of school what are we planning to do next year, in 3 years' time, as well as in 5 years' time. So whatever we do is not only limited to lecturing, we'll do other things as well to ensure that we achieve that particular goal that we want to be for ourselves. So that's one. So you have also Cotter wrote in his book. And if you can see here, step number 3, you need to create a vision for change. Again, in Activefield's workshop, corporation paid thousands of dollars to send their staff to attend this particular workshop. This is to train how their own staff will achieve their own vision when they work in that particular organization. Be it if you want to work in Shell, Dabi, Petronas, or any banks, they will have this sort of training to ensure that each and every of their staff will have a certain goal to achieve. So I'm training all of you to do it right now because your goal is not only to have a law degree, because this is just like 10,000 other law students just want to have a law degree. But you need to take 2 steps ahead because then you know exactly what to do after you have completed your law degree. So rule number 2 is inspire. Why do I feel inspire? Because you need to find a role model where you want to emulate their best practices so that you become exactly like them in that 3-year period or in 1-year period. So you need to set a timeline in terms of how you're going to achieve your goal. So find a good role model. So it can be anyone. If you say current prime minister, if you can say president from another country, as long as you feel that they have best qualities that you yourself want to sharpen, so that by the time you have graduated in three years' time, you already have this skill set. So emulate their best behavior, just like how we talk about presentation. If you remember during the speed dating activity, best students, what they'll do is that they'll notice the eye contact. So you need to able to sustain the eye level during the conversation, either in real life or even in a virtual platform. So this is where you need to look directly at the camera lens. How they move their body gesture, how they move their hand. In real life, when you encounter face-to-face physically, the fact that you tap someone's shoulder, tap their elbow, these are all part of NLP. This is how you slowly gain their trust. Because the more they feel comfortable with you, the more they're able to share more things with you. So this is also a skill to get your client to be as honest as possible. Practice their skills. So in terms of reading skills, when you read the articles, so try to emulate the way that they structure the sentences, the words that they use when they want to emphasize certain idea. So why do I say this? It's because when students type in their assignment answer, so they want to make sure that their answer is fantastic. So they like to use synonym and then change all the keywords. So sometimes when I read it, because you use the bombastic word, it doesn't make sense at all. So try to use the words where you're comfortable speaking, so it sounds truthful and genuine, on just like how you present in real life. Same goes in writing. Try to avoid a synonym, because sometimes when we read it, it doesn't make sense at all. So observe your surroundings as well. So when I say observe your surrounding, this is where you need to look and observe other people's behavior, because the concept of neurolinguistic programming, this is how you observe things. And then because it comes, you want to emulate that best practices, right? You want to emulate best behavior. So you need to observe all possibilities. Just like how we have practiced during tutorial session, students, even though have been mentioned multiple times, do not use I feel, I think. This is because it has subconsciously or naturally comes to you. So we want to practice to change that behavior for students. Avoid using I think, I feel, by doing other alternative best practices in terms of presenting as well as sharing thoughts. So I hope all of you are curious, what is neuro-linguistic programming? So NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So why it is part of neuro? Because this is where you observe everything, you see everything, you hear everything, you use your 5 senses, and then you store it in your mind. And when it comes to storing in your mind, this is a little bit of science. Some of the students who are aware of what they're looking, as well as what they're feeling, as well as what they're hearing, they will absorb the information. Some students, even though they have experienced similar things, but then when it comes to observing into their mind, it won't be stored. So what will happen is that it will be eliminated and they won't remember it in the next day or in the subsequent days. Some students, they observe everything, but because they don't observe 100%, their perception has become distorted. So I give an example. When you encounter an experience, then you say to yourself, oh, I remember this thing has happened, but you don't remember 100% accurately. You roughly remember 70 to 80%. So this is where you weren't 100% observant in that particular surrounding. Linguistic is an art of effective communication. The words that you use when you present, this is also a skill. It comes with your ability to read as many articles as possible. And it's also take into account, remember, not only the linguistic part, but also non-verbal communication. So that's why eye contact is important. That's why body language is important. Hand gesture is important. Hand gesture, when I tried to show the video of individual shaking hands, how firm your grip is, these are all part of science. How you gain the someone's trust on the first day you met that particular person. And lastly is the programming, is the ability to learn whatever that you have observed and then you utilize it or you execute it properly. When we go deeper into learning NLP, it is actually a unique set of techniques on how you emulate and execute best practices. I've previously mentioned the cost of doing NLP workshop is 8,000 ringgit in Malaysia, and it's usually a 10-day course. But because you only have one topic to study law, so I have to make it the information as concise as possible. By doing NLP technique, that's where you're able to tweak your presentation, play around with their body language to ensure that they are captivated with your own presentation. This is crucial when some of you want to work in a law firm, you want to make sure that you're able to present or advocate properly. So how do you read the body language of the judges? How do you read the body language of your opponent counsel? So that's where if you look up on the right, you know that person is recalling information. If the person look on the left side, then you know that someone is trying to think creatively, come up with the answer, but not a real fact. If someone fold the arms, so what does it mean by that? If someone play with the hair, what does it mean by that? So all of this movement or behavior or gesture means something. We have experienced it every single day, but we never come across what does all this body language means. So NLP is used as a personal development through observing surroundings and people, self-reflection. That's why we have the last assessment on reflection, using meaningful and purposeful language. So every words that you use counts. So that's why whenever you say something, ensure that you repeat that particular word and define what do you mean by this particular word. So why in your answer, you use should instead of must? Why do you must instead of me? So you have to be confident with each word that you use. So this is also part of NLP techniques. It comes through experience in reading judgment. So this is just an extract or screenshot of what NLP is all about. As you can see, the moment you absorb or observe information or surrounding, it will filter through your mind. So your mind will able to absorb images, sound, and feeling. But it is just a matter if you're able to use all this prior information when it comes to studying law. So whatever that you have learned, it will program you in terms of how do you communicate using the prior information that you have already acquired. So people, they don't just born and then suddenly become a great speaker. So these are all comes through years of experience, through observing other people or attending training, you practice. So these are all part of NLP skills. So how do you apply NLP in studying law? So that's why I always start my presentation with have a vision, find a role model who you want to emulate. So it's good if you have the experience of reading newspaper every day. So you see who is the author of that particular article, and then you follow that author because you want to follow the flow of his or her writing. You see how that person used paragraphing, formatting. So these are all you observe all the information and then you apply it in your assignment. You also need to identify your strength as well as weaknesses starting today, because this is how you sharpen whatever skills that you have. And if you have weaknesses, this is where you try to minimize doing the same mistake over and over again, because you are already becoming aware of your surrounding. You're also becoming aware of your own weaknesses. It is also important that you know exactly who and what you want to be in the future. If you want to become a lawyer, you need to identify exactly what you want. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you need to know exactly what type of organization that you want to set up. Is it sole proprietor? Is it LLP? Is it like a organization? Which one exactly? So what are the behaviors that you need to sharpen? So this is where you need to attend ALSA activities, law society activities. So then you try to emulate the behavior of the speakers, because these are all prominent individuals. Trust me, it's very difficult to get them. The fact that they're coming to give talk to Taylor students is already a big thing. So you see what you like about them. Then you try to follow their footsteps. So what are the resources that you need to have? This is important. Some students, they want to become best presenter, best writer, best this, best that, best of everything. But then can you do it while you're studying law in year one? How much time do you have? How much money do you have? So if you want to attend webinar or conferences, some are paid. So whether or not you have funding to go to all of these events that you would like to attend. So you need to identify the limitation and then try to find solution to resolve the issues relating to resources. Like for me, to attend NLP course will cost me 8,000 ringgit. Of course, I don't want to use my own money. Then I'll need to get Taylor's University to sponsor. So I need to find all of these resources to ensure that in achieving my vision, I have all the support from my parents, from my employer, from my friends, from my family. All of this, you need to able to identify. Because sometimes when you want to achieve your vision, then your parents say, no, 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 I don't want you to do this, you do this. Then you know your resources are limited. You cannot achieve your dream because there is a barrier or challenges that you encounter. So how do you jump over those barriers? Because you know yourself better, so you need to be able to find all this limitation as well as solution to in achieving your particular vision. Moving forward, as of today, you need to define your goal specifically. You want to work at which department? That's where you go to top 500, and then you see all of this industry or department that best suits your personality. Some of you likes to travel around the world, so you want to find an organization or a department that can support you to see clients abroad. That's one example. Some of you do not like to travel. Some of you do not want to see people, especially in court. Your good skill set is that you can work by yourself and complete it and excel in it. So that's where you can embark on corporate department. You can do conveyancing matter. So you need to find something that suits your personality as well as your own interests. So you need to highlight the steps to get there, law degree, and after that do the bar, and then attend all these trainings, either organized by Malaysian Bar, organized by MDEC, organized by SME, organized by, find all those big corporations and attend all of these free events as much as you can. You must make sure that it is measurable, that you want to do this, attend 3 webinars in 1 year. Next year, attend another 3 webinars in 1 year. By the time you've graduated, you have attended 6 webinars, which are all aligned with your vision. So that's how you do it. Number 3 is catching up. It's not means catch up socially with your friend. You need to catch up with the industry as well as with the current trend pertaining to your vision. Some of you in a law firm right now in Malaysia as well as around the world are experiencing disruptive changes due to machine learning and other artificial intelligence platform. So when law firms are being disrupted, the role of lawyers are becoming lesser and lesser because you do not need young lawyers to do legal research anymore. If you have artificial intelligence that can do research 100 times much faster than a human being. So legal industry as well as other industries are being disrupted. So how do you strive? So how do you want to sell yourself? So you need to be able to know what are the relevant machine learnings, how it works, how it doesn't work. So this is where you interject and fill in the gap. Because of this machine learning costs 2 million ringgit. Instead of spending 2 million ringgit a year, why don't you hire me? Because I can do this area, my negotiation skill is better. Machine learning cannot do negotiation skill. My skill in advocating is much better. My skill in communication, presenting, pitching, whatever that machine learning cannot do that, that's how you sell yourself. You also need to embrace changes. This is crucial because as you all know, okay, maybe not all of you know, when we talk about law, it's very slow to develop, especially legislation. When we speak of legislation, it needs to start from a bill and then go through House of Commons, House of Lords, bounce back to House of Commons. Sometimes it can take years in UK as well as in Malaysia. And when it comes to amending the legislation, you need to go through again the process of passing the amendment. So it takes time. So because of the nature of the law itself is slow, so there are a lot of lawyers out there. When it comes to embracing changes, they will resist. They resist so much that they will try to ensure that machine learning will not be adopted in Malaysia. But that cannot happen because you cannot resist changes because changes is going to keep coming in. Over time, if you keep resisting changes, for example, when Malaysia first embraced movement control order, a lot of lawyers resist having hearing in a virtual platform. No one wants to use Zoom. until court came out with a policy which says that we do not want to delay any proceeding even further. Hearings will take place on an online format. So that's why the first Malaysian history where it was telecast on a television, this is where the judiciary themselves start to embrace changes. So this is where you come in. So as a young lawyer, I can use Zoom, I can use Microsoft Teams, I can use Webex, I can use BlueJeans. You state everything that you can do. I can do share screen, I can do waiting room, all these features of all the platforms, you tell them, because rest assured not everyone can utilize teleconference platform. This is when I mentioned observe other people's behavior. If you move forward, if you keep flicking your hair, if guys like keep looking around, so which means they are sign people are not interested in your presentation at all. So if you want to do it, it requires practice. Try to speak with the stranger. If you keep talking and then you can see other people doing this, means that other people is part of your presentation. So one student who tried to do it in the past during the class activity will start playing with her hair during her presentation, and slowly the audience will also play with the hair. So how I know? Because each group will need to record their presentation when they present it to members of a stranger. So I'll show you a video, a compilation of students utilizing NLP technique.
Dear students, congratulations, you have lasted until week 7 as law students.
Grace point. Our team is scanning the pamphlet, the objective.
Hi sir, are you free now?
I'm playing the game.
Do you mind giving me a couple of minutes?
No.
Yeah, you don't mind. You say no, okay.
Very useful for students.
Deserted island, obviously because of the negligence of the pilot.
And a woman, but then the pilot chose to save the woman, so there's no justice for the guy.
Oh!
Okay.
So basically, it can be absurd, but it makes sense.
So we are going to summon this tutorial class, which we don't even know anyone in there. We're going to go in, ask the lecturer's permission, and start the story. So just come with me. Hi guys.
So thanks for sparing 5 minutes with me.
And whilst my break was happening, I took a walk out.
And he can never figure out why all his interviews never break through.
But however, through his clothing and his manners, he could tell that the soldier was, and he could tell that the man was serving.
That he accidentally wind up the machine.
There was a break in the smooth sailing of the
Really utilize the NLP skills we learned in this module because she used her hand motions a lot. I think.
Hi, I'm Samsi, and I think Heatherly did a very good job in her storytelling because she doesn't apply NLP.
Actually, she applied NLP and
Besides, Tammy has to process all the NLP skills.
So rule number 4 is tendency. So which means each and every one of you must have the tendency to successfully and effectively studying law. Even Albert Einstein also is credited for saying this. He referred tendency to insanity, which means you have to keep doing the same thing over and over again, but you have to expect different outcomes, which means you don't become mundane. You don't do the same things and no changes takes place. So Harvard Business Review also conducted study. It says that with tenacity, it creates brilliance. No matter how many times you have failed, you become much more creative in terms of finding solutions to a particular issue. What you understand the process that you're going through will motivate you to achieve even bigger goals. I give you an example. When you work in a law firm, your first case, You feel your client scolding you, your employer scolding you, so you feel like it's the end of the world. You do not want to practice law anymore. That's a normal, I would say like a grieving process, but you need to understand when it talks about grieving, there are 5 stages of grieving. So first you grieve, and then after that you move forward to the subsequent stages until you reach the final stage of acceptance. But if you're not aware of the stages of grieving, you'll feel so down, so disappointed. It will affect how you think. It will affect your mood when it comes to the workplace, your mood when it comes to your relationship, your mood with your friends and family. So that's why it says that by understanding what you feel will make you become a better person, will make you even achieve bigger goals, because you tell yourself, I only lose one case, what? So there are many more cases. Now I can re-strategize how I present to ensure that I don't fail again. So that's how you create positive mindset and strive to do better. I like to read Forbes, Harvard Business Review, because it talks all about leadership, how to deal with people. There's also a thing called office politics. So how do you deal with the colleagues? So one quote that I have extracted is that Tennessee is the fierce blend of determination, determined to achieve your goal. You must be persistent and you must have grit. So that's the difference between failure and success. It's from doing just okay to thriving. So each and every one of you wants to thrive because you want to be that particular person that is an expert in advising in this particular area, is an expert of drafting opinion, is an expert of doing submission, an expert in any particular area that suits your personality. Okay, so next slide is be optimistic. So optimistic is very crucial. No matter if you're a law student, journalism student, or business student, you must have an open mind, because life will throw a lot of things at you. Try to create as much barrier or challenges as possible. It's normal that we want to feel give up at the onset, but if we're open-minded, we'll always try to be creative in finding solutions. Number 6, resilient. So when we talk about resilient, this relates back to what I've mentioned earlier, is an art of knowing what you feel. So if you feel sad, of course you know how to feel sad, but you need to know the stages of having sad feeling. So in real life, when you work, you have relationship. So how do you sustain that relationship with your boss, with your parents? You live away from your parents, parents want to see you, you have deadlines, you have a spouse. How do you ensure that you balance all of this? Let's say if something terrible happened, someone passed away, you broken up in a relationship. So all of this tragedy, if you read a lot, there are phases on how to embrace all of this emotion. So this is to ensure that no one can affect your mindset in achieving your vision. So to be resilient is very crucial. And this has also been indicated in Forbes article as of January 2021, that the skills demanded by employees is more resilient at work, especially in times of COVID-19 pandemic. So be resilient to excel. So no matter what challenges that are thrown at you, internet connectivity, or your siblings are becoming noisy, you cannot study, so find solutions. So if you feel stressed, so you understand that you're feeling stressed, but you'll also know that there is a solution towards this emotion. So that's what resilient means. So this is just a chart that I would like to show that all of us are here at the comfort zone. Even myself, in certain categories, I'll feel like I like doing what I do. But in order to upskill yourself, you need to slowly move out from your comfort zone. Some students will feel, I don't feel that I know what I'm doing. I feel scared. I feel that this is stupid. I feel that it doesn't make sense. These are all normal because you're moving into the unknown. So that's what we call the fear zone. But once you have experienced it, then you realize this is not too bad. What's the worst that can happen? That's where you move on to the learning zone. You have experienced failure, you have experienced mistake, so you know how to deal with the future problems. That's where you start acquiring new skills. And then lastly, you at the growth zone, because you have already moved out from your comfort zone. You already meet new people. you have learned new skills. So that's where you start to live your dreams and start set new goals, have new vision, because you don't want to be stuck here because you go back to your comfort zone. You have already achieved what you want. So then you need to start again. Move here, move here, move here. So this is the flow that will keep go on until you have retired. So you don't stop at one particular place. You will continue to grow to become much more better individual in the future. And lastly is yearn to excel. So you must have that deep desire to perform so well, because this is what makes you outstanding as compared to good. So even Mackenzie said that this pandemic will create a discontinuous shift in employers' expectation, and their shift will impact on how we live, how we work, how we do things. As we use technology, which will become more apparent and more useful in the future. So how do you thrive in a world that is full of technology? So you need to find the gap. To me, it's all about humanization, where machine learning cannot tap into that area. So that's where your soft skill comes in. Eye contact, body language, hand movement, all this will become very useful for you to compete with the AI. So continue investing yourself. How you study right now, you reimagine again how you're going to do it with NLP technique. So remember, whatever that you read, you pick up the words that you like, and then you copy it on your notes. Or if you prefer to write, you copy it in your journal. So that's where you know in the future you want to use this particular word in your essay. So right now, all of us are here. We have embraced a lot of changes. So we're open to new ideas. So how do we reinvent ourselves? So this is all the way towards upskilling and reskilling ourselves. At the end of the day, if you follow the ingredients that how to become an effective law student, so at the end of the timeline, you will have a victory in your hands. So with that, I end today's session, and I hope you have gained as much knowledge as possible in legal skills and methods class.